Call the meeting to order. Thank you so much. Dawn, you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Dawn. Pearl, if I may have the roll call. Thank you. Can't even see it. I should put my glasses on.
Thank
so I
you.
can see the numbers.
Ogalla,
Here.
Berkowitz,
Here.
Brooks,
Here.
Bullock, Butler, Hickey,
Here.
Winfrey.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay, so we have the approval of minutes from the January 6th meeting.
Motion Ogalla, second. Previous.
Perla will do it.
Ogalla,
Yes.
Berkowitz,
Yes.
Brooks,
Yes.
Bullock,
Yes.
Butler, Hickey,
Yes.
Winfrey.
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Okay, do we have anyone for public comment? Public comment? Dr. Burke, public comment? No, okay. Okay, moving on.
That happens to us, doesn't it?
Okay, so we have attached to your agenda were the ISACO tract bills. And we have them in online. Go ahead, Ann, please.
Are we, I'm sorry, are we doing the federal update first or the
Miscellaneous
state?
legislative, yes. Sorry.
Yeah, they're just attached.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, so the federal legislative update.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Excuse me, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Chris Pratt with Smith Garson. I wanted to provide you with the federal legislative update. As you probably know, currently the federal government is in partial shutdown. There have been some movement on moving forward the remaining funding bills for this year. As you know, the bills, including the Department of Homeland Services, Department of Homeland Security, was going to move forward, but after the tragedy in Minneapolis, there were calls from both sides of the aisle to wait before moving forward with the full funding for DHS. So what that means is that last week the Senate chose to split out basically the bills. 5 funding bills remain the same as they have been, full funding for the entire fiscal year, which ends on September 30th. And then the Department of Homeland Security bill will receive, the department will receive 2 weeks worth of funding while Congress determines, negotiates what they'd like to move forward with in terms of DHS policies relating to ICE enforcement and personnel such as masking and things like that. So the Senate passed that bill last week, and today the House is working on that bill. They will be voting in approximately an hour. We think it will pass, but it has been some opposition. But again, we do think that bill will pass. Once that bill passes, President Trump has agreed to sign it immediately, which will reopen the government. So there are several departments that are currently closed, and they've been closed since 12:01 a.m. Saturday. One is the Transportation Department, another is Housing and Urban Development, Health and Human Services. So those are very substantial departments for the federal government, and so we do expect those will be reopened quickly after today. If something happens where it does not, where the bill does not pass, they might have to go back to the drawing board, which I don't think any members on either side of the aisle want to keep the government shut down. So once this bill passes and is signed into law by the president, Congress has approximately 2 weeks to, again, negotiate funding bill for the Department of Homeland Security, and we'll be watching that as well. besides what's happening directly on the House and Senate floor, we've been working on the Water Resources Development Act with the county. The Water Resources Development Act is an annual bill that authorizes projects with localities and the U.S. Army Corps. So we're working on that. And then as well, we have begun working with the county on fiscal year 27 projects that may go forward for what are normally considered earmarks. So we've been working on those items. The Transportation Authorization Bill, which authorizes funding for bridges, roads, et cetera, is continuing to gain steam in Congress, but it's likely it'll be a few weeks before committees start work on that. And we know how important that is, transportation sector is to the county. Brett, do you have anything to add?
No, KP, I think you discussed the, what's going on in Washington pretty well. I might just add on the, geopolitical front, there continues to be conversations around, trade and tariffs, and there's less activity in this area, but still, regular conversations. I believe it was yesterday that the U.S. and India agreed to a trade framework. That's the details will still have to come out. I know, that has some impact on the county, less so than some other issues that you brought up. I think the big thing to note, though, is it looks like the House is going to pass, 5 of the remaining spending bills in a 2-week continuing resolution for the Homeland Security bill. A lot of this funding, like CDBG Home, is important to the county. And with the passage of that, the funds will be able to get allocated down to the county level. I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Thanks, Brett. Chris, any questions for Smith Garson? I'm struggling with that instead of Dawson. So many years.
I know. Yeah,
Brooks?
probably
Yeah,
17 years.
I like it, but it's a change. Mr.
Definitely.
Brooks has a question.
Hi, Brett. I'm not on.
Oh, sorry. You're not paying attention. Yeah.
Am I on? Oh, hi, Brett.
Hey.
The partial shutdown, does that specifically just pertain to Department of Human Services and or are there other federal programs that may be affected? What does a partial mean?
Yeah, that's a good question. So the federal government is funded by 12 separate appropriation bills, and they cover various areas of the federal government.
Right.
6 of those bills were passed for fiscal year 26, which goes through the end of September of this year. The remaining 6 bills were in what they call a continuing resolution up until last Friday.
Right.
And so once Friday at midnight hit, the agencies and programs that are under those remaining 6 bills stopped being funded. And typically when it's over a weekend, there isn't a whole lot of impact. And the agencies like Department of Transportation, Health and Human Services, they put out information on what the shutdown meant for the agency, but everyone kind of knew what was going to happen. And what we mean by that is that Congress was going to take up these bills and likely get them passed. I would imagine that President Trump will sign the bills and the continuing resolution for Homeland Security, the 2-week, into law almost immediately, probably today. So I don't think we're going to see much of an impact from this shutdown because it'll ultimately really be like a day and a half. But there were numerous agencies that were impacted: Department of Labor, as we said, Health and Human Services, Department of Transportation, Department of Education. A bunch of different agencies were impacted, but Department of Defense. But it looks like they're going to be back up and funded pretty soon here.
Okay, that's good. But and even it would be a short time. We hope so. but those employees under DHS and those other departments, they don't get paid during this time?
Typically, and Chris might have other information, but typically they wouldn't, but then they would get back pay because
yeah.
there's language in the bills
So-
that say
Right.
any time that was taken off, you're going to get paid. And so I think that's likely going to be the case.
Now or later. Okay, that's good. All right. Thank you, Brett. Good to see you, man. It's
welcome.
been a while.
Okay.
I know. Good to see you, Herb.
Yeah. Yeah. Member Hickey?
Thank you. I wondered with the CR, has that been stripped of all of the SAVE Act vestiges that were attached to it, or was that to the entire appropriations bill? And if the House is voting on it, can they add that back in if it's not in the CR?
Yeah, so the SAVE Act was not included on that. There was a big push to include it by 2 members in the House, but ultimately the Speaker had a conversation with them or some sort of agreement that it wouldn't be attached. And it sounds like there might be some sort of vote. I think the details of that are still a little murky, some sort of vote in the House on that at some point. But the Senate has indicated that there's no guarantee that they would vote on that if it were to pass the House.
Okay, great. Thank you for that.
Butler?
Yeah, I just wanted a clarification. You said that you anticipated this would get signed and that it would be a day and a half or something? That
Today. Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be signed later today by the president.
so there's really no worry about people not getting paid or anything like that if they sign it today?
Yeah, it's not, this is a different sort of shutdown than we saw last year. I think there's less concern. Everyone feels as though they, are going to get their pay, their salary.
Yeah, I just was making sure I heard that right. Thank you.
You got it.
Yeah. All right. Looks like that's it for us, Brett. Thank you.
Great to see you all. Have a nice afternoon.
You too.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thank you. Thanks, Chris. Bye. Okay, so we're on to the state legislative update.
Good afternoon, everybody. Matt Murphy joined here with my colleague Ann Schaefer down in Springfield. The Senate is in this week, likely just today and tomorrow. They're scheduled for Thursday. But things are off to somewhat of a slow start. This Friday, the 6th, is the deadline to file new bills for this spring session. There will be opportunities, of course, thereafter to amend bills and add language onto shell bills or other vehicles. So they'll keep us busy and active till probably the early morning hours of June 1st. But that deadline for filing of new bills is this Friday. Once we go through that process, we expect to be in a position to resume our weekly legislative reports to you. Just as a reminder, this is the second year of the General Assembly, of a 2-year General Assembly. So bills that were filed last year are still live, viable, can be acted on, even if perhaps that's not likely for one reason or another. So we've got those bills from last year. We anticipate probably another few thousand bills between the 2 chambers will be filed new this year by the end of Friday. And like I said, we will go through and analyze those and add those that pertain to you into our Will County folder, so to speak, so that you get a complete analysis of the bills that pertain to you and can keep us apprised of any issues you may have or any positions you may want to take. And if you recall, when bills go to committee, that is when there is an opportunity for us to weigh in with a position on your behalf, either as a proponent, an opponent, or no position on the merits. So that's a big part of why we want to share those legislative updates with you on a weekly basis. Thereafter, of course, probably not a big surprise to all of you, but there is a primary election March 17th. And that is not only a local county one, but also for state officials as well. And in even numbered election years with the March primary, it tends to result in somewhat short, limited activity the first half of the spring session, which sort of consolidates all of the action into really the second half, those last 2.5 months between the primary election and the end of session, May 31st. We will get a little bit of an indication of where things are at budget-wise when the governor gives his State of the State and budget address on February 18th. That will be the February 17th is the next time, actually the first time all year, that both the House and Senate will be in Springfield at the same time. And so we'll get the governor's proposal for how to proceed and deal with next year's budget. The good news for the budget so far at the state level for the current fiscal year, which ends June 30th, is that revenues seem to be a little bit ahead of where they were expected to be. There are projections that we will finish this fiscal year with the $55.3 billion budget ending up being balanced. There is the potential, if revenues dip in the next 5 months, for that to not be the case. But it seems more likely that there would be a modest surplus than that there would be a deficit. The problem comes next year when current projections show the state having about a $2.2 billion deficit, or about a 4% of that $55+ billion budget. So the number one issue in Springfield this year will be the budget, as it is every year. There will be issues regarding data centers and energy as well. And of course, the state is always on guard and on edge with regard to changes from Washington, D.C. with regard to the funding of programs from D.C. And impacts to Illinois' potential budget. Federal funding is a significant component of the state's revenue, and changes to what may be coming in addition to what has already been enacted are something that the state is consciously on guard for. So with that, I don't know, Ann, if there's anything else you wanted to add. Otherwise, we can open it up to questions.
Hey, Matt, this is Judy.
Hi, Judy.
Hey, I looked through ISACO. They gave us all the track bills that they're tracking for the state. And there's a group of them that are like specific to counties. So I'm going to send an email to our chief of staff and he can send it around, because I think they're important for us to, come up with a position of support or oppose, because they can impact us negatively or positively. So I was going to look for that. And I'm not sure what the group wants to do with other types of, what one is for permanent daylight savings. Let's look at that particular one. So as a group, I don't know if we would want to take a position on that or not, but I was thinking maybe we should look through it, send the bills that we'd like to have a little review from. And I know you'll give us more detail than we get from ISACO as to what the impact is. And then we would go from there. There's one bill I'll just also bring up too, HB 47, which is property tax senior freeze, saying if a person qualifies for a senior freeze, they may qualify for amount to be paid, deducted for their premiums they pay to Medicare. So it would bring your amount down. And granted, we don't know if these will go anywhere or not, but that is just something as to, how do you pay for that on stuff like that. But anyway, I was going through it, like I said, and there are definite ones that impact just the county itself, or counties, I should say. So I'm gonna go ahead and send Chuck our list of them, and then, you guys can go ahead and give us some details, because I think it is important for us to look at these bills now, vote at our committee here if we want to support them or oppose them sooner rather than later, so that we can get a letter down to you guys, so you guys know what to do down in Springfield on our behalf. So
Yeah, I
that's really
really
what I'm
appreciate
doing.
that. That's immensely helpful. And again, the door kind of closes on new bills for Springfield this Friday, and thereafter, we will get you sort of the complete list of the bills. And glad ISACO is doing that. Appreciate that you guys are looking at what some of these bills to take an opinion on. But we're happy to weigh in on your behalf. I think particularly as we've discussed in the past, to the extent you're focused on things that pertain to counties generally and counties' opportunity and ability to do your job for your local constituents, and then things that are potentially unique to Will County that would impact your ability as specifically as Will County board members to do your duty for Will County. Those are bills that I think certainly your Will County legislative delegation wants to know about. And more broadly, it's appropriate, I think, for you all to weigh in and share that county experience that you have with state legislators on those bills.
Yeah, I think it's important. And so hopefully everyone will, well, once you get us the final list, then we can look at it, and then everyone can go ahead and submit that. Then we can look at it and say what we want to do with them. Some impact county, but maybe not our county or something like that too. So thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Other questions for Matt? Yep. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Mhm. So the next item on our agenda is the federal agenda. And if you remember last month, I see a light on. Did you have a question for Matt after I said that? Oh, okay. So, was our federal agenda. So some questions arose about the wording on there. So I'm going to ask Martha Soika to come up, say what it was she intended and what the wording is, how it needs to be changed so that we can all be on the same page, get what we need to do, the wording that we need so that we can pass the federal agenda. So this is Resolution 26016. And so we need a motion first to get that onto the floor.
Second, O'Gara.
Thank you. Martha, let's get you going here.
So just to clarify, the wording that we're speaking about is the one that opposes harmful reforms to federal housing assistance related to institutional investors. So the key word in that last sentence, I would say, is affordable housing, the word affordable, because this is speaking specifically to that type of development. There are institutional investors that invest in housing, and they do so to make a profit. We like that happens. We know that. But in this case, we're looking at protecting or encouraging institutional investors that are wanting to invest specifically in affordable housing. And the reason that's important is that it won't happen without institutional investors. Like, it is truly a public-private partnership when it comes to affordable housing. When HUD allocates dollars, or when the federal government does the appropriations and HUD, the Housing, Urban and Development, get dollars, they typically have it in two forms. One is subsidies that are rental subsidies to help a person afford rent. And then there's another category, which is actual units, hard development units. In either case, if there's no institutional investor, like a landlord or a person willing to accept the subsidies, then affordable housing doesn't work. In the same sense, when it comes to development, like the county receives home dollars. Home dollars are meant to build affordable housing. And a lot of times to build affordable housing, there's a gap in funding with what the renters can pay. And there's a program called, just as an example, Low Income Housing Tax Credit Program. That's an example of how an institutional investor is investing in affordable housing. They basically front 80% of the development costs so that the rest of the dollars are public dollars, the 20%. So if the HUD subsidies get reduced or there's inconsistency with how they're funding, the institutional investors start to get a little weary. They don't know if they should participate or if they can participate. So it's really a hand in hand. You need both in order to be successful in this space. So the wording, I think the wording, I don't have an issue with the way it's worded. It does indicate that if you cut HUD subsidies, it does discourage institutional investors because they become uncertain about whether or not there's ability to participate. And then the fact that it says affordable housing, it's indicating that we're specifying the institutional investors for affordable housing are important. The other ones, there's debate about whether or not there should be control over that, but for affordable housing, it's needed.
Okay.
Any questions on that?
That's helpful for me because I think I was mixing up investors and speculators because I was thinking particularly of there's one in this area who is buying up older homes, senior housing, whatever, from people pass and the kids get rid of the house, slap a coat of white paint on, stick a flower pot out in front and jack the sales price or the rental price through the roof. And that's not what you're speaking to. You're speaking to people who will actually create a development in a way that people can afford to move in and they'll get their subsidies through the government, through this federal program.
Correct.
Okay, that's helpful for me. I have Mr.
So
Butler up
ju-
next.
Because you speak very quietly, could we have a clarification on the difference between an institutional and what was the other one you said?
Speculators.
Speculators.
There's a group in this area, speculators, and they're housing speculators, and they buy up property at discounts. Mostly a lot of times it's parents, grandparents pass, and they buy up the property. They slap a coat of paint on it, maybe stick a flower pot out front,
Right.
might patch a crack or two in a driveway, and they sell it way above what you would expect that market to be in that area, or they rent it way above normal rental prices. And so that was what was in my mind. This is an investor, somebody who actually does target housing for people who have lower means, and they get their money instead from the government, and that I do support.
So what are the subsidies that discourage institutional investors? What exactly are those subsidies? Because,
The subsidies encourage.
okay, so you're saying because it's a double negative, it actually
So it opposes cuts to HUD subsidies, so we can start there. So in the absence of HUD subsidies, there's no affordable housing, right? So we need to acknowledge that those are important in the formula.
so
And they're important to the formula because you need institutional investors.
So you want the HUD subsidies that discourage institutional investors,
No.
or you don't?
So, I
I
know.
want the HUD subsidies that encourage institutional investors. Erica?
So I know at last county board meeting, ASA Myers chimed in because there was confusion. There's half of the group which was interpreting this sentence because there's double negatives as one thing, and then there's a group that was interpreting as another. So we needed to get the wording more on board because it's going to be it's going to be construed against the drafter. So the sentence as it reads, one could say it opposes cuts to HUD subsidies that discourage institutional investors, which they're opposing those that discourage. However, it could also be read as that you want them to discourage institutional investors. So we were looking for a sentence, that last sentence, to be rewritten that would be more clearer, that because we literally had two
It
groups
says
of
we
people that were interpreting it as two different things, which, I mean, I can
So-
see what that means.
Yeah, so could it, I just had wanted to make
She
a
has-
motion.
She has one.
Oh,
Oh, no, I
Oh, you did?
wasn't
Okay.
asking.
I was gonna
Okay,
make
so
a motion for the insertion or deletion and insertion. So I was just saying where it says the Will County Board, where it says opposes cuts to, you could say supports. And then where it says, discourages, you could strike that and put in encourages. And then that the way the motion is to a positive and not a negative. And then it would.
So read it in its entirety, because I think you've got the opposite of what you wanted. I heard you.
Should I start from the beginning or just the sentence? Okay.
I have a question.
And the Will County Board supports HUD subsidies that encourage institutional investors in affordable housing.
Okay, Martha, does that,
That would work.
That's better.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So make the motion to amend it.
Yeah, so that's how I do, make the motion to amend as stated.
okay, is there a second?
Chuck
for
wrote
that?
it down, so that's law. Okay, it's done.
Okay,
So,
second. for-
well, after
Okay.
we vote on it.
Okay, so there's a second. So I see the mic's on. So the question you have, Julie, is,
You're like
Okay,
that.
thank you. So let me just go back to this. You indicated that institutional investors are individuals or includes individuals.
It can include individuals when they're structured to be like a real estate investment trust.
No, that's separate from an individual. I mean, individual and institutional investors have a certain structure.
So yes, institutional as a structure, not an individual.
And I do know that these investors that go in to buy property for profit, that they do have a negative impact, can have a negative impact on the market. So I still have concerns about the fact that, are we saying we encourage and do we even, how does that impact the county that we have to support institutional investors?
So if you support affordable housing, it's hand in hand to support institutional investors that are supporting affordable housing. The ones that you just mentioned are like Chairwoman Winfrey mentioned, they're speculators that are doing it for a different purpose, not affordable housing. It's the opposite of affordable
Well,
housing.
that's not true. We have a brand new, we had a senior facility expand. And it's a private company. It is not an institutional investor. And it's one of the nicest facilities that we have in the entire city. I just want to know, why is our policy to focus on institutional investors?
Yeah, the policy is really focusing on affordable housing. And if the county supports affordable housing and encourages that,
I
then
just haven't seen the fact that institutional investors drive the market positively. I haven't seen those results.
any affordable housing development that has been developed has institutional investor as part of it. So there's one that we supported in Shorewood that they don't, I mean, that you have to be able to cover the cost in some way.
right,
So unless you expect the government to cover the 100% of the cost, that's the only way that affordable housing would exist. So in this case, it's saying that it's a public-private endeavor to have public subsidies, whether it's capital dollars or tenant-based subsidies alongside institutional investment.
okay. Okay, I see a couple of mics on. We have some, Dana, I see you've already spoken. We have two here. We have a lot of extra mics on. Can we turn some off for a minute? Turn that one.
Clarification, just on the wording.
Sure. Read the wording again, please.
So I've got it
The wrong
written
one.
and I just want to make sure that it's. Okay, yeah. So what we're talking about right now is the Will County Board supports HUD subsidies that encourage institutional investors in affordable housing. And do you just want to eliminate that last section over there, or do you want to add thereby reducing strains on an already stressed housing stock, or do you just want to eliminate that section?
I was just gonna
We
put
can-
the 2 words on there,
Okay,
but whatever anybody else wants. if they
We can
wanna
drop
change
that
it.
last piece.
we can,
Yeah. we
just
can-
dropping that might be just less,
Yeah,
okay.
clean it
So
up,
I'll
yeah.
just, all right, okay.
Yeah, that's
So fine.
good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sorry.
Dawn?
You see me? I'm wondering, because of what Julie had said, if, and I don't want to muddy it, so, but just thinking, and the Will County, and you tell me, I'm sorry, what is your name?
Martha.
Martha, thank you. You tell me if I'm going off base. And the Will County Board supports HUD subsidies regarding affordable housing that encourage institutional investors.
In affordable housing.
No, I already said it in the other way.
In affordable housing.
HUD subsidies that, what did I say? Regarding that, what was my word? See, I can only say things once. And the Will County Board supports HUD subsidies. I don't know, regarding affordable housing that encourage, or am I cutting us out of other HUD subsidies then by saying that? You know what I mean? We need that affordable housing, I think, to be there before you say institutional investors, because that's the word that makes everybody, flip a little, and that the affordable housing is what those HUD subsidies support, correct?
Correct.
So the distinction of showing that the HUD subsidies are for affordable housing and we encourage institutional investors, period. You know what I mean? It is in the sentence, but it comes after the words institutional investor. That's what I'm trying to put the affordable housing in front of, so that we're saying, we want institutional investors, but it's got to be for affordable housing.
You want to make affordable housing the focus of the sentence?
Yes, instead of institutional investors,
Okay.
which is the focus of the sentence now.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
So
Hang on.
just a thought.
Were you still wanting to?
Sure.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you. So Martha, the thing that we're talking, the HUDs, I'm kind of piggybacking off what Dawn said, but the HUD subsidies are what we're talking, we're not talking about having any influence over who the institutional investors are. We're just talking about, we don't want to see the HUD subsidies cut for that group of people. Is that correct?
That's one component of it, I would say.
Okay, because there are groups like Blackstone that has, they do institutional investment, but they also do low-income housing through a subsidiary. So, but we're not concerning ourselves with that necessarily. It's just, we're just talking about, we don't want to see what would the second component be then?
Well, I guess the intent when it was written was when the HUD subsidies were at risk of being cut, which is why it was worded that we oppose the cuts. As we heard today, I think the appropriations are going to stay as they were funded last year. So currently they're not cut, but there's always more need. So the impact of cutting subsidies makes institutional investors weary
Okay.
of supporting affordable housing development, which then, if there was a development in the works of getting developed, it gets shelved.
Okay,
So
so
the-
that's a natural byproduct of okay, all right.
Yeah.
I completely understand now. Thank you very, very much. I'm sorry if I confused anybody else by asking that.
Okay. That's fine. Okay, let's see. what we got
So
next.
you already turned me on. So,
think
I just
Julie-
want-
You've already spoken. Julie has a question.
I
And
was,
I saw Mike 6.
I was next. I waited. You turned me on, but I didn't go yet.
Finish up, Dan.
Okay.
Finish up, Dan.
So I just want to make sure that, like for low housing, projects, or affordable housing, there's different guidelines, I would assume, that, investors have to follow.
Correct.
So it could be different for affordable housing and then other types of housing. So I know that she was talking about institutional investors being a bad thing but when we're talking about different types of housing, that could happen and it could blow rent up. But with affordable housing, there's guidelines. So when we're talking about it in this context, it's different. So I just wanted to.
Yeah, and,
make that
and where
clear.
it's important to keep the word affordable housing, because
Right.
the institutional investment into affordable housing is critical. It won't work without it.
All right. Sherry?
Well, I'm piggybacking off what Dawn said, perhaps if we could put affordable housing before subsidies, and that would explain the HUD affordable housing subsidies and that encourage investment or whatever. So that's what I'm thinking if we want to make affordable housing the subject of this. So it would read that the board supports the HUD affordable housing subsidies that encourage institutional investors that, so
Okay.
that's all my comment.
Okay. So we already have a motion on floor for
Can
the
I ask a
other,
question?
just a minute. We already have a motion on floor for the other wording. Are you accepting of that?
I'm not sure, where did you put, affordable housing? So
Yes, describe the subsidies.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, here. Yeah, go ahead and read it back, Chuck.
Will County Board supports subsidies?
The HUD's affordable housing subsidies.
So here's what she would have,
Change.
Leader Williams requested. The Will County Board supports HUD affordable housing subsidies that encourage institutional investors, and it would end there, correct? Okay.
Yeah. that
I
was
would,
it.
I would still add affordable housing to the end of institutional investors.
Investors in affordable housing, okay, then we can, okay.
Okay, fine. Julie?
Twice.
Thank you, Chair Winfrey. So what,
You'll know we really.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That's very specific at that point.
Martha, what is the definition of affordable housing?
It depends on who you ask.
Okay,
So-
is it multi, are they duplexes? Are they high rises? Are they single family homes?
So
What
that's
is
a
affordable
unit.
housing?
That's a unit you're describing, but
Right.
affordable is by HUD's definition, not paying more than 30% of your income on housing.
So that would include single family home communities.
Yeah, it doesn't speak to the type of unit. Affordable is how much someone could
Which
pay.
is exactly what many of our communities experience, the difficulties, because we have single-family homes, and then as a homeowners association, vice president, or whatever your role is, that property is purchased and people can't outbid these companies. And so you have single-family homes that other, maybe a new young family, maybe they're just got married, they don't have kids yet, or maybe they do have young children and they want to move out of that apartment into a home. They are then competing for these single-family homes, and it's driving the price up. That is what is happening out there. And that is why I understand your intent, but we need to recognize that if you talk to the people who live out in our communities, the biggest problem is the competition to bid on a house. And at the end of the day, we are seeing homes that are owned by these companies. And for that reason, I don't support institutional investors coming in and buying single family properties and creating that issue in the market. My neighbors, we have neighbors now who are trying to sell their home without bringing it to market to avoid this.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. It's just that this comment or this section doesn't speak to that. It's a different topic because we're
But you
talking about affordable housing
Yourself said
specifically.
it's based on
It's based on income. And so I don't think as a county we should go there. I don't think we should encourage the issues that the single family homeowners are already experiencing.
Okay, I'll just clarify one thing here, because you didn't say based on income. You said that not more than 30% of a person's income should have to be tied up in the house, and that's what makes it affordable. So regardless of how much I make, if more than 30% of my income costs more than 30, takes more than 30% of my income to afford that house, it does not reach the affordable level. I may choose independently to spend more than that, but that then makes it in a different way. The other thing that you mentioned was that people buying it up and pushing the price above the market. That's the speculator.
The question I ask
investor, which
is,
now,
does
referring to the
this
question, I'm-
include single family
It
homes?
The investor
And if
can
it
build
does,
single, multi-units,
what I s-
whatever, with this money.
so with a single family home, how do these companies come in? What income is being used by HUD to say, okay, you can grab this property?
So those are two separate things, because the entities that are coming to just buy homes, they are not working with HUD on affordable housing goals. So those are two very different
Yeah.
things
So
happening.
Can I just, what I'd like to say is there's.
Were you finished, Martha?
I did just want to clarify the definition.
That these people had HUD loans and they trashed these homes and left.
Okay.
So-
We're going on to something different.
That seems like an unrelated topic to this particularly, but
Mr. Brooks, I see that you have your hand.
I appreciate the discussion, Madam Chair and Martha, on affordable housing. And I never really heard a definition of what it is, but that helps. But I also know that affordable housing definition doesn't mean to everybody the same thing across Will County, state of Illinois. Denise Winfrey and I have an area, unincorporated, Ingalls Park, Ridgewood, etc. Affordable homes mean differently than the Naperville. So that description of 30%, I never really heard that before, but I do know it does vary across the state and the county.
so I will say, so that's an individual definition of affordable. What's affordability
Right.
just generally? HUD goes a step further to say that the people that need affordable housing the most are those that are low income. So now you add another layer onto their guidelines
Right.
that their housing is going to support anyone that's earning less than 80% of the area median income. This is where it becomes low income housing,
Okay.
right? So affordability, we should all
Yeah.
be worried about
Right.
affordability
Right.
and wanting to spend and
Right.
afford what we can. But the HUD subsidies are targeting people that earn less than 80% AMI.
Okay.
So now you know your
Yeah.
dollars are going to the individuals and families that need it the most.
That helps
So
me.
if you have an institutional investor that is invested in that mission, then affordable housing will be built.
Right.
There are investors that don't, that are just going to play the market and we have no control over that.
But they wouldn't get the HUD subsidies.
No,
Right.
that's
Thank
right.
There-
Yeah, okay.
I mean,
So-
ultimately, what we're talking about is we're talking about two different types of investors. One, because they're going to build low housing for people so they can afford it, gets an edge, and we help them with subsidies. The other one, it's still America. Everybody can do it and do business and sell and buy. But what we're doing is we're giving an edge with subsidies to the builder who's going to help out and build low income or more affordable houses. So you can't just get rid of institutional investing because it's a free country. But all we're trying to do is even the playing field out, create a little bit more space for people by giving subsidies to these builders so that they can build houses so more people can live in them. It's, you're not precluding one, you're just helping the little guy out.
Dawn, something new?
Clarification. So, and just for purposes, a HUD loan is different than a HUD subsidy. I'm getting a HUD subsidy to help me build in this case, affordable housing.
Right.
I can also, completely separate of that, get a HUD loan to purchase a house, correct?
There are different, there
So
are
a HUD
different
loan is very
programs.
different. That is me getting a loan based on my income to buy this house. A HUD subsidy is something that you are giving to an investor, and they are following specific guidelines to build a house, to build housing.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay, so at this point, haven't heard anything new come out. We're clear that, I believe we're clear, there's a difference between an investor and a speculator. We are speaking, this piece speaks to investors, people building so that more people can afford to live in a house, whether it's single, multi, whatever that happens to be. So I believe that we are at a point where we can vote on the language. Would you
Yes.
read it again for us, Chuck?
So the language would be, the Will County Board supports HUD affordable housing subsidies that encourage institutional investors in affordable housing.
Thank
And
you.
that would be the amendment to it. And then after, if the amendment passes, then we go back to as amended. Okay.
Right. Okay, so is there a motion for that, this last
There
language?
is, it's a,
And second.
yeah,
Okay.
the change, okay.
Okay, okay, so those in favor? Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. The federal agenda as amended is, right, the federal agenda as amended, is there a motion?
I think it's this particular passage.
Oh,
You approved the amendment, now you gotta approve it.
that's what I just asked for,
She did.
as amended.
Motion
As amended.
O'Gala.
You're going for the
She's asking for a motion to pass that.
Yeah.
Motion, Butler. Is it, okay.
Butler, second. Those in favor? Opposed?
Who's second? Judy made the motion.
Right, opposed.
Dan,
Dan did.
well, one of the two of them.
It doesn't matter.
It bad. That's important.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who gets it.
Okay,
It's irrelevant.
okay,
Okay.
okay. The agenda's passed completely. The wording and the amendment,
It was
and then
unclear.
as it got amended, both are
So
done.
now I think
Okay.
it's clear.
So we have no other old business that I'm aware of or any new business. And I certainly have no announcements at this point. It's almost 2:00. Absolutely. Almost 2:00. And we don't need an executive session, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion, second O'Gala.
We'll meet again on March 3rd. Thank you all.
It's my brother's birthday.